Hi guys, my name is Mary Henderson, and for my final project I focused on the internet's effects on the English language. As you probably know, the internet has brought about significant change to our usage of the English language. Despite what some may say, these changes are not necessarily bad. They're just different. Let's look at a few of the many ways the internet has changed the way we communicate both online and offline. First of all, we've added tons of new words and phrases to our vocabularies. Looking at internet slang is an interesting way to see how quickly words can be picked up and how quickly they can be left behind. Many of these acronyms, like 4COL, meaning for crying out loud, or AYSOS, meaning are you stupid or something, were once popular, but have simply become outdated. It's important to remember that text used to cost money to send, and typing out long phrases took up too much space on tiny mobile screens. As technology improved, abbreviations like these began to impede communication rather than speed it up. However, there are some abbreviations that some of us still use even today. You might even hear people say OMG, LOL, or WTF while speaking out loud. And just as old internet slang falls out of favor, new internet slang appears all the time. For example, YOLO is an abbreviation for You Only Live Once, which is used to mean that you should do things that are enjoyable or exciting, even if they are silly or slightly dangerous. Rickrolling, which means trolling someone on the internet by linking to the music video for Rick Astley's 1987 song, Never Gonna Give You Up. Rickrolling first started in 2007 on 4chan, with the first ever Rickroll involving a link promising to be a trailer for Grand Theft Auto 4. Instead, the link directed excited gamers to the music video, and since then the term has taken on a life of its own. Some other terms that the internet has bestowed upon us include selfie, which is pretty self-explanatory, meaning to take a picture of oneself. Spilling the tea. This one is really interesting. The use of tea in this phrase didn't originate online. Tea in this form actually originated in drag culture, specifically Black drag culture. One of the first print uses of tea, which was often shortened to just the letter T, comes from the book The Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, which is a book placed here in Savannah. And it was during an interview with famous drag performer Lady Chablis. It could mean someone's business or could refer to a hidden truth, otherwise known as some gossip. Throwing shade is also a term that originated in Black drag culture and actually was entered into the dictionary in 2017. It is defined as to express contempt or disrespect for someone publicly, especially by subtle or indirect insults or criticisms. And then there's fleek, which is defined as extremely good, attractive, or stylish. That brings us to another change that the internet has helped usher in. English speakers of whichever background are able to encounter more varieties of English than they might have without the use of the internet. A lot of popular words that we use nowadays derive from African American Vernacular English, shortened to AAVE. Here are a few examples. Bae, meaning boyfriend or girlfriend. It's lit, which can mean something is fun or exciting. Woke, meaning aware of political realities. Realness, meaning being authentic. Squad, which could refer to a group of friends. Slay, which is to succeed in something really difficult. And basic, meaning to enjoy unsophisticated things. Different online communities, including Tumblr, Twitter, and Reddit, have created dialects that could be incomprehensible to someone not on that specific network. Some popular terms are I can't even, all the feels, what is air, and the famous keyboard smash, which can all indicate excitement. On Reddit, users can tell each other TLDR, which means too long, didn't read. Now, of course, these phrases can be used on different online mediums as well. We're learning new grammar rather than losing our ability to speak English. This is something that I found super interesting in my research. For my first two examples, I'm going to talk about LOL's cats and Doge. In order to take on the persona of a cat or a dog online, Many people use deliberately incorrect English spelling and grammar. In order to be deliberately wrong, you must already have a pretty advanced grasp on what the correct formulation is. LOL's Cats has been known to use old-school internet abbreviations and misspellings and confuses the third-person singular with the first-person singular with I can has, not I can have. Doge, on the other hand, mixes up adverbs and adjectives and uses the wrong form for countable and uncountable nouns. There are a few other examples I found, including this post from a Facebook group called A Group Where We Are All Cute and Wholesome Birds, which I just joined the other week and I suggested to everyone, and one from one of my favorite Twitter accounts, Thoughts of Dog. And here's a post from a Facebook group called A Group Where We All Pretend to Be Boomers, which is a group of millennials who basically make fun of the baby boomer generation and their posts on Facebook by intentionally using incorrect spelling, capitalization, punctuation, and by going against a lot of accepted social media norms. Now let's talk about memes. Richard Dawkins, who is a famous biological evolutionist, introduced the term meme in 1976. It is defined as a unit of cultural information spread by imitation. Whereas genes determine an organism's physical characteristics, memes determine the behavior of an organism. Now, internet memes are pieces of culture, typically jokes, which gain influences through online transmission. Memes can be spread quickly and widely and just demonstrate another way we are able to communicate with one another. Here are some popular examples of memes, which can be used to express a multitude of things. There's Side-Eyed Chloe, Leo DiCaprio holding a glass, the Why You Always Lying guy, the blinking guy, and one that's super popular right now, the lady yelling at the cat who's eating at the dinner table. Memes are sort of hard to explain. They're basically just inside jokes between all internet users. We assign meaning to them and we share them with our friends or with the masses. In her book, Because Internet, linguist Gretchen McCulloch outlines the new emerging rules of language in the internet age. One of my favorite chapters in this book was when she discussed typographical tone of voice. There are so many simple ways to express complex emotions while texting or while communicating online. In speech, our baseline is an utterance. Sometimes an utterance is a full sentence and sometimes it isn't. For people who've grown up with linguistic norms oriented to the internet, the most neutral way of indicating a single utterance is with a new line or a message break. In this example, each text indicates a separate utterance. On the other hand, people whose linguistic norms are oriented towards the offline world, the most neutral way of separating one utterance from the next is with a dash or a string of dots. Here's an example of saying the exact same thing in two different ways, which could be interpreted differently depending upon the reader. She then went on to discuss the passive-aggressive potential of single periods. There have been whole think pieces written about the use of a single period. I thought I'd give this a try. I asked my friend to respond to all my texts using periods after each phrase. Even though I knew she was just doing what I asked her to, I still felt like she was kind of mad at me. This tweet is a good, funny example regarding the importance of punctuation while communicating online. Another well-known aspect of typographical tone of voice is that when you type in all caps, it sounds like you're shouting, as evidenced by this tweet by Donald Trump. And while all caps is probably the easiest and most popular way of expressing a strong feeling, capping a single word is emphatic. When we want to emphasize something in our speech, we often pronounce it louder, faster, or higher in pitch. This is a typographical way of conveying the same cues. Some words, like exit, caution, or chapter 1 and chapter headings are considered emphatic, but they aren't necessarily loud. But our interpretation flips depending on whether we read the text as formal or informal. I just want to go home, this is the worst, is an example of typographical tone of voice. Another way to add emphasis online is by repeating letters, especially for words like yay and no. And a great way to show irony on the internet is by using the sarcasm tilde. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Hopefully I am. It derives from the enthusiastic sparkles that decorated AIM away messages, MySpaces, and Zangas. What is known as sparkle sarcasm comes from sparkle enthusiasm. Sparkle sarcasm is an anti-seriousness marker, similar to using LOL. It has a few definitions, one including somewhere between sarcasm and a sort of mild and self-deprecatory embarrassment over the usage of the word or phrase. These are just a few of the many changes the internet has brought upon our language. This is something I found very interesting because they were all things I had heard of and was familiar with, but I never really understood why we communicate the way we do online. In summary, language is fascinating and sort of weird, and our brains are capable of amazing things, even when we don't realize what we're doing. Thanks for watching. TTYL.